So I've been driving this thing for several months now without putting a video out, and it's time I gave some feedback about how the project went. So besides the head bolts, there's a few things that I probably would have done differently now that I have driven it for a while. For starts, I probably should have put some more sound insulation on the firewall. It's pretty dang loud in there. Another complaint, the muffler doesn't do a whole lot of muffling. So here's the muffler. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna buy some resonators and weld them in here instead. But man, it's just loud. I like the layout pretty good of the harness from James Brown. Be careful with the AC wire. It's somewhere on this side of the harness over here. So when you go to make your AC hose, just be careful and be certain to make sure that the port that you need to, the pressure sensor port that you need to plug into is accessible. I don't think I'm running into any knock issues running a 2.8 inch pulley. It's about the smallest pulley you can squeeze on there. I do have a phenolic spacer, maybe that has something to do with it. We'll take it out in a second, but the balance shaft being removed in order to fit the higher lift camshaft and higher spring rate valve springs. The balance shaft remove will make it vibrate pretty bad at idle. I mean, everything rattles. It's not the most pleasant or comfortable ride. Maybe you can increase the idle speed a little bit to like maybe to 12 or 1500 to skip over that really rough idling spot right around 1000 or so, but it is not a pleasant ride. The camshaft, I think, so I bought the XPZ camshaft, which is it's the best cam you can probably throw at it with the M90 supercharger still on there. I think it's a bit mismatched for what I want to drive it this car as. So I drive this thing daily to work. I just started up, drive it to work for a few minutes, shut it off. This camshaft is designed to make power in the high RPM range, and I pretty much never get there. If I were you and I was making a daily driver and you didn't need to squeeze every last ounce of power out of your car, I would just go for a more casual camshaft, or maybe even some higher ratio rockers and not change the camshaft at all. A different camshaft might not require you to change the timing chain as well, which that would also not require you to remove the balance shaft. So it'd be probably better for driving around town and a lot more comfortable of a ride all in the same go. So mine's an automatic, and the automatic Fiero shifter only had 3 speeds. So there's 1, 2, and then drive. However, on this car, I've got the 4-speed 4T65. And I can't actually get into first gear. So when the shifter's in first there, the transmission is actually in second. I could either play around with this or adjust it a little bit, but I would just kind of drive it as is because I hardly ever go in first. The only reason why I would ever need to go in first would be to launch and control my shifts. But if you program the shifts good and so that they shift at a good point, depending on your camshaft, then you won't really ever need to go into first, in my opinion. I think the radiator is a little bit undersized for the 3800, so I've got a 180-degree thermostat on it, and I cruised on the interstate for a good 2 to 2.5 hours at around 70 to 75 miles an hour, and this is with the 4T65, and it cruises at a decent RPM, like maybe 2200 or so. And it does not stay cool. It doesn't have enough heat rejection. So the radiator would cool it off, and it would maintain about 215 to 220 degrees, even though my thermostat is 180 degrees. So it definitely can't get enough heat out of there and keep the car cool under a long-term load, so I might look at resizing that eventually. I will say that I found a leak, some leaking coolant up here one time, and it was from the dimes that I JB welded in the intake manifold. One of them had actually come loose and coolant was just kind of seeping out of there, so that wasn't good. I got back in there, roughed it up a little bit, and was extra careful with it this time. These tail lenses from Keith Goodyear are excellent. The only thing is I would actually seal them like the instructions tell you to, because if you don't, you'll get some moisture spots building up behind them pretty quickly. I think I should have replaced my bushings in the rear when I did all the swapping, because I never looked at them and they're shot, of course, and I put the engine back in without thinking about that. If you do AC, be sure to change all of your O-rings in the entire system. There's a couple in the front, and then there's just I think the one in the back, and then there's the seal that's on the compressor itself. So be sure to change your O-rings if you do that. So we're in the car now and it's on, and you can tell it's pretty rumbly, pretty loud, pretty shaky. If you just put your hand on anything, you can feel that vibration pretty bad. I wonder if the phone will pick it up. So I didn't get out to the drag strip this year, but I did buy a OBD scanner that can do quarter-mile times. The only thing is I don't have a very good alignment and or traction right now, and it's very cold out, so I'm going to be peeling out like crazy. It's doubtful I'll get a very good launch. I did get a 12.5 second quarter mile the other day, so that's pretty good, given that I've only tried launching like 2 times or something. I will say, for some reason, when you get a low tank, the baffling doesn't work very well, and if I take a corner on a low fuel tank, it will kind of sputter out and maybe die occasionally, but as soon as you level it back out, it's fine. One thing about this camshaft is its exhaust is extremely smelly. It's gosh dang poisonous too, so don't let this thing run in a confined environment for too long. What really jingles is these locks here, the locks on the door. With as loud as it is in here, and is just not that comfortable, and with this engine in it, it's not that fun to drive long distances. I drove this thing about 2.5 hours to and from someplace one day, and it just wasn't that fun of a trip. It's fun to putz around town in, but it's not a car that I like to show off to people just because of how loud and obnoxious it is sometimes. The police do seem to take notice to you too. I've been pulled over 2 times in this thing, and I was speeding both times, but you know, it's a little loud, zippy, white sports car looking thing, so it's a pretty good target. The brakes, even though I have that booster in, I have some crappy pads, and I get some pretty bad brake fade if I really romp on the brakes. But if you're not going crazy with the brakes, they're perfectly fine. They feel totally normal with that new booster in and bled and everything. Overall, this thing is a ton of fun, and it's super powerful, and it can beat just about anything out on the streets, going head to head, and even handling in some cases. The noise kind of is a dead giveaway though from the muffler that I've got, that it's got something special under the hood, so it's not much of a sleeper like I intended it to be. Being as loud as it is in here, it's very hard to listen to the radio too. It's just too much noise. You're kind of sick and tired of the noise by the end of the trip usually. Also, it smells like gas a lot since I deleted the evap system. And I had to remove the valving in the gas cap, because if without the evap, there's no way for the gas tank to breathe, and it sucks fuel and creates a vacuum inside the tank, and you don't want that. It's probably really bad for efficiency and other things. So, but since I removed that, it does smell like gas occasionally. So what I'm gonna do, my shift points are programmed perfectly, so it's gonna short shift. I should be shifting around 7,000, but it'll shift around 6,400, and I'll totally miss the peak power point. That's only in first though, because I can get into second. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna floor it, see if I can control the launch, and then once I get up after first, I'm gonna manually shift into second and stay in second. So until I probably hit a quarter mile or so. There's only a 13-second quarter mile there though. Let's see, 8.6 eighth mile, 5.5 330 foot, 2.08 60 foot. That wasn't the best launch. Let's try that again. This time we're going uphill, so it might be worse. We'll see. So it's pretty slick. I couldn't get going there right off the bat, but it sure does climb. I mean, you can tell the power picks up, you know, over 5. It's just keeps going. It keeps climbing. Very tough to not peel out in this thing. It has so much torque, it's really hard to control a launch, unless I have big slicks or something and an alignment and something, but it works. I mean, it's quick, it wants to go, it's just hard to control it. So you see here, the everything's kind of shaking around the 700 to 800 RPM range. Keys are pretty bad. But this is what it's like when you pull up to a light every time, and it's just very loud and vibration-y. So overall, I think adding better muffler setup and resonator setup, and maybe having a lower end torque cam for the daily driving aspect would make this thing a lot more comfortable and a lot more appropriate for what I use it for. But I probably would have regretted not putting in the biggest camshaft I could find. Simply because I like making power and I like this thing to be the best it can be. So I know that I'll knock the socks off at the drag strip with it, and that's kind of what I built it for. So just a fair warning, I wouldn't go all out if I was the typical guy and planned on daily driving it. But either way, this thing's still pretty fun, has plenty of low end torque with this XPZ camshaft anyway, so it doesn't really matter, I guess. But I just never plan on being up in the super high RPM band. That, and if you don't plan on living in a state that doesn't care about emissions, then you obviously would need a lot more. You need to keep the EGR, and you need to keep your catalytic converter on, and you need a camshaft that wasn't super impressive, because those are really bad for emissions. Also, driving this thing in the rain can be kind of freaky sometimes with as much torque as it's got. Launching in the rain is pretty much guaranteed to have no traction at all, so, or in the cold, real cold weather. I never mentioned this or put any video or anything up about it, but I have now rebuilt this engine that is in this car 4 different times, and I've put a total of 5 engines in this car, or an engine in this car 5 times. So before I went to the Fiero show in the Quad Cities in Illinois, I was taking apart my intake to look for a leak, which I found, but one of those dimes from that I GB welded in there had come loose, and I set it on my intake, and then I sprayed off my intake, and I couldn't find the dime. And I looked in there, or in the intake, and there was a valve open, or like right where it could have fallen. So I'm like, great. So I ended up rebuilding the whole engine in one day. It took me 16 hours straight to do. My wife helped me out, handing me tools and stuff. But I actually took the heads all the way down and off of the car with it still in the engine bay. and then built it all the way back up again. I didn't actually need any extra parts because I didn't take the head bolts out or anything, and I didn't need any new gaskets. I just reused my MLS gasket. Comedic says you shouldn't do that after you've heat cycled it, but a lot of guys do, and I have twice now, and I mean, I can't really tell if I'm having problems or not. I might be able to figure that out in the future if I have, but no, I rebuilt the entire engine in 16 hours, tore it all the way down and built it all the way back up, and then I drove it about 5 or 6 hours to the Fiero show the next day. Boy, that was one of the hardest days of my life. But since then, I've just kind of been enjoying it and driving it every day, and no coolant leaks anymore out of the head bolts, so that's good. And I did not find the dime, actually, when I tore it all the way down. I don't know where it is to this day. It's gone, but I had to know. I didn't really have a snake camera, so I couldn't have really told by shoving one in a spark plug or something. It would have been a great idea, but I did find that there's some liquid from me cleaning off the intake in there anyways, and would have been a good idea to clean out. So I had to know, so I had to tear it down, and you know, I've done it 4 times. Took me a day, but you're getting pretty good at tearing this engine apart and putting it back together. The only thing that is really problematic right now on the engine is it seems like my oil pan gasket developed a leak, and it looks like it'd be kind of a pain to get to. I'm not sure if I could get the oil pan out of there without like doing anything else pretty extravagant. I might be able to, but I don't know. If one of you guys has changed a 3800 oil pan out on your Fiero Raj mount 3800 on a Fiero, let me know. But I've just let it leak. I don't really care. Whatever. If my tuning was right in the shift points and I could actually get a launch in and I could shift when I wanted to, I think if I was also on E85, I really do think this thing could be low 11-second quarter miles. The best I've run is a 12.5-second quarter mile while not on E85. I might have been on 91 or 93 octane, not sure which. 12.5 second, that's pretty quick for a daily driver, and that wasn't even with a good launch at all. Or I definitely peeled on that launch, so it's got some serious potential. I just need to get it under control. So I don't really drive this thing in the winter. I'm pretty much just gonna park it, and maybe in the spring I'll get out to the racetrack when it opens up and do a real quarter-mile time video. But till then, I probably won't be making a whole lot of videos. So see you guys next spring.